On a fall afternoon in Boston, as the late sun streamed through the windows of her high-rise apartment, Jennifer Wilson was making final adjustments to her latest design plans. Her face revealed a mixture of confidence as a successful architect and weariness from raising a child alone as a single mother. "Mommy, look! The dinosaur is riding a spaceship." 6-year-old Aiden proudly called out from the colorful crayon drawing spread across the living room floor. Jennifer paused her work and turned her attention to her son's creation. "That's wonderful, Aiden. That dinosaur looks very smart," she said, stroking his soft hair. Aiden's imagination never ceased to amaze her. His large brown eyes resembled those of her ex-husband Michael, but his personality was just like hers, curious, artistic, and occasionally, even stubborn. The phone rang, and Jennifer sighed. The screen displayed the name Helen. Calls from her sister were rare. "Jenny, it's been a while," her sister's voice carried a superficial brightness. "Richard and I finished our new house. We moved in last week." "Congratulations." "That was quite fast," Jennifer replied. Helen had only begun construction of a mansion with her husband Richard Blackwell 10 months ago. Richard had achieved tremendous success in real estate investment, and her sister was reaping the benefits. "Are you upset that I didn't ask you to design it, even though my sister is an architect?" Helen's voice carried a hint of sarcasm. "Not at all," Jennifer lied. In truth, she was a little hurt. "You and Richard have your own style." "That's right," Helen agreed. "Anyway, I'd like to invite you and Aiden over for the weekend. From Friday night until Sunday. What do you think?" Jennifer hesitated momentarily. Her relationship with her sister was complicated. From childhood, their parents had lavished excessive affection on Jennifer, praising her artistic talents. While she was always treated as the special child, Helen remained in the shadows. The unbalanced treatment between the two daughters had created an irreparable rift in their sisterly relationship. After their parents died in a car accident 5 years ago, the rift deepened. Most of the inheritance went to Jennifer, with art funds and educational trusts established for Aiden. It was legally sound but morally complex. Though Helen had secured a wealthy husband, her eyes reflected years of perceived injustice. "Jenny? Are you still there?" Helen's voice interrupted Jennifer's thoughts. "Yes, sorry. I was just thinking," Jennifer pulled herself together. "Thank you for inviting us. We'll come. I think Aiden will be delighted." Aiden brightened at her response. "Are we going to Aunt's house?" he asked excitedly. "Didn't you say there's a pool?" Jennifer nodded. For Aiden, Helen was his only relative. Seeing the child's simple joy, she felt she'd made the right choice. Perhaps this was a chance to mend their relationship. "Wonderful!" Helen exclaimed happily. "Come around 7 on Friday. I'll have dinner ready." After hanging up, Jennifer gazed out the window. Clouds were beginning to take on the colors of sunset. She reflected on the complicated past she shared with her sister. While Jennifer had always been the center of their parents' attention, Helen was the ordinary child. Their parents showed little enthusiasm for her average grades and hobbies. The pain became most evident when Helen left home immediately after graduating high school. After that, she kept contact to a minimum until she met Richard. Despite gaining financial stability through marriage, Helen had an unfillable emptiness. Years of fertility treatments had failed, adding to her suffering. Meanwhile, Jennifer had a son. Beyond their parents' love and inheritance, she also had what Helen desperately wanted. "Mommy, what does Aunt have at her house?" Aiden's question interrupted Jennifer's thoughts. "Lots of nice things. A big pool, a game room, and a spacious garden." "Does Aunt like me?" Aiden asked innocently. Jennifer hugged her son. Of course, she loves you. As she said those words, she wanted to believe them. But she couldn't help remembering the expression in Helen's eyes when she looked at Aiden, envy and something darker. Still, she told herself to give reconciliation a chance. After all, they were family. After dinner, while putting Aiden to bed, Jennifer pondered her sister's invitation. On the surface, it appeared to be a gesture of reconciliation, but anxiety swirled within her about possible ulterior motives. Helen's kindness always seemed to conceal hidden resentment. Looking at the photograph on the bedside table, her parents, herself, and Helen during their last family vacation, Jennifer sighed. She truly wished to repair her relationship with Helen. It was for Aiden's sake too. In the dusk of Friday evening, Jennifer parked her car in front of Helen's new home. The three-story mansion in Boston's upscale suburbs exuded dignity in the setting sun. Aiden leaned out the window, wide-eyed. "Wow, what an amazing house. It's like a castle." Jennifer smiled. "Yes, it's quite luxurious." The front door opened, and Helen appeared. She wore a fashionable dress with perfect makeup. Richard stood behind her with a friendly smile. "Welcome," Helen said, arms outstretched. "You've finally arrived." Aiden jumped out of the car and ran toward his aunt. Helen seemed to hesitate for a moment but quickly embraced him. "Aiden, you've grown so much," she said. "Would you like to see the pool?" The interior was like something from a luxury interior design magazine. Marble floors, high ceilings, and artwork everywhere. Richard gave Jennifer a brief tour of the house, and she was impressed from an architect's professional perspective. "The design is impeccable," she said candidly. "But to live in, it seems a bit cold." Richard completed her thought. "That's Helen's taste. She demands perfection." Dinner was an elaborate multi-course meal prepared by Helen. On the surface, the atmosphere was pleasant, with old stories and jokes. However, Jennifer didn't miss how Helen's smile occasionally tightened, especially when Aiden showed interest in architecture and Jennifer talked about her work. "Aiden really takes after you," Helen said after sipping her wine. "He seems destined to be talented." "Thank you," Jennifer replied. "But he'll find his own path." "Yes, of course," Helen's eyes reflected an unreadable emotion. "He has every possibility open to him." Late in the evening, Richard showed Aiden the game room, leaving Jennifer and Helen alone. "You seem happy," Jennifer said. "This house, Richard, your life, everything." Helen was silent for a moment. "Appearances don't tell the whole story," she finally said. "We still want children. We've tried every treatment available." "I'm sorry," Jennifer said sincerely. "I'm sure that it will be all right," Helen interrupted. "Or that we should consider adoption. Everyone says the same thing." She took a deep breath and softened her expression. "But let's not talk about that tonight. I'm glad you and Aiden could come." When Aiden returned, he was excited. "Mom, Uncle let me play video games. And he said I can swim in the pool tomorrow." "That's wonderful," Jennifer said. "But now, it's bedtime." Helen showed them to a luxurious guest room on the second floor. There was a large king-sized bed with a small folding bed prepared for Aiden beside it. "If you need anything, just let me know," Helen said. "Good night." When the door closed, Aiden looked slightly anxious about the new environment. "Are we sleeping here?" "Yes, just for one night," Jennifer reassured her son. "It's a fun sleepover." After completing their bedtime ritual, Jennifer read Aiden a story. He quickly fell asleep. Jennifer herself, tired from the long day, soon drifted off. In the middle of the night, she was awakened by a small hand shaking her shoulder. "Mommy." Aiden's voice trembled. There's something over there. Jennifer rubbed her sleepy eyes and turned on the bedside lamp. Aiden's face was pale, his small body shaking. What is it, Aiden? She asked gently. Did you have a bad dream? No, he shook his head. I heard a noise. Then, over there. What? When Jennifer asked, Aiden hesitantly pointed under the bed. Jennifer smiled. It's okay, she said. It's normal to hear strange noises in a new place. There's nothing there. She knelt on the floor to look under the bed to reassure Aiden. The next moment, her breath caught. Under the bed, a small camera and recording device were installed, with a tiny red light blinking. It was clearly professional equipment, firmly attached to the wall and floor. What's there, Mommy? Aiden's voice came from behind her. Jennifer quickly composed herself and stood up. Nothing at all, she lied. You probably just mistook a shadow. But I saw a red light, Aiden insisted. That's probably the light from a smoke detector, she said. Now, let's go back to sleep. After putting Aiden back to bed, Jennifer checked under the bed again. Indeed, there was surveillance equipment. She carefully picked it up and examined it. It was state-of-the-art, apparently connected to Wi-Fi. Why would Helen have something like this? She wondered to herself. Part of a security system. Or for some other reason. She turned off the camera and hid it in a drawer. Her mind was filled with questions and anxiety. Should she ask Helen tomorrow? Or pretend not to know? She returned to bed but couldn't sleep all night. In the moonlight streaming through the window, she stared at the ceiling, wondering what other secrets were hidden within the walls of her sister's house. Morning sunlight streamed through the window as Jennifer awoke from fragmented sleep. Beside her, Aiden was still sleeping peacefully. For a moment, she wondered if last night's incident had been a nightmare born of fatigue, but the surveillance device hidden in the drawer told the whole story. She quietly slipped out of bed and took photos of the device with her smartphone. She considered consulting someone but decided she should first speak directly with Helen. There might be a reasonable explanation. She wanted to believe that. At breakfast time, only Helen was in the kitchen. She was making pancakes and brewing coffee, the picture of a perfect morning. Good morning, Helen said brightly. Did you sleep well? Jennifer hesitated for a moment. Actually, not really. Oh dear, why? Wasn't the bed comfortable? The bed was wonderful, Jennifer chose her words carefully. But Aiden found something under the bed. Helen's hands paused momentarily but quickly resumed. That, she shrugged. It's part of the security system. Richard had it installed throughout the house. He's a bit overprotective. In the bedrooms too? Jennifer asked skeptically. Of course, Helen flipped a pancake. This house is full of expensive artwork. Richard prioritizes security over privacy. The explanation sounded logical, but Jennifer's unease didn't subside. Why was there a camera only in Aiden and her bedroom? She hadn't seen any in the other rooms. So, what are the plans for today? Helen abruptly changed the subject. Richard left for work. I was thinking of taking Aiden somewhere special. Where? It's a surprise, Helen winked. He likes animals, doesn't he? I'll take him to the zoo. You should rest a bit. You look really tired. Jennifer thought about declining but realized she could use this opportunity to investigate the house. That's kind of you, she said. I could use some rest. Aiden was delighted to hear about going to the zoo after finishing breakfast. Jennifer hid her inner anxiety and told her son to enjoy himself. Look for the pandas, she said. Take lots of pictures. I will. Aiden promised. After Helen and Aidan left, Jennifer began carefully examining the house. The first floor seemed like a normal mansion, luxurious but nothing suspicious. When she went upstairs, she paused in front of Helen and Richard's master bedroom. Her hand on the doorknob, she hesitated. She knew it was an invasion of privacy, but last night's discovery had planted strong doubts in her mind. In the end, she chose another room, what appeared to be Helen's personal study. The door wasn't locked. Inside, she found an orderly space. A large desk, filing cabinets, and on the wall. Jennifer gasped. The entire wall was covered with photos of her and Aidan. Pictures of them in the park, Aidan at school, photos taken from outside their apartment. Some were clearly shot with a telephoto lens, taken without their knowledge. "Oh my God," she whispered in a trembling voice. On the desk were neatly arranged files. Opening one, she found detailed records of Jennifer's personal information, bank statements, medical records, and a detailed breakdown of the inheritance from her parents. Another file contained copies of Aidan's school reports and medical records. More frighteningly, she found several prescription medication bottles in the desk drawer. The labels read Helen Blackwell and listed names of antipsychotic medications and powerful sleeping pills. Next to them was a business card printed with Dr. Robert Cohen, psychiatrist, and a schedule of therapy sessions. Most shocking was a black leather notebook. The title, Perfect Family Plan, was embossed in gold. Jennifer opened it with trembling hands. The first page detailed Jennifer and Aidan's daily schedules. Subsequent pages contained items titled Phased Plan. Later in the notebook were memos on various legal terms and court procedures, and even drafts of petitions to Child Protective Services. Jennifer's heart pounded rapidly, her hands wouldn't stop shaking. This wasn't merely jealousy or resentment. Helen was trying to take Aidan from her and make him her own. And somehow, she was trying to make Jennifer appear to be an unfit mother. She immediately took out her smartphone and photographed the important pages. Next, she sent a brief message to her trusted lawyer friend Stephanie. "Emergency. Please keep these photos safe. We'll contact you soon." While sending the photos, she heard the front door open. Helen and Aidan had returned. 2 hours earlier than planned. Jennifer hurriedly returned the notebook to its place and left the room. Hearing footsteps in the hallway, she quickly returned to her guest room. Her heart was pounding fiercely. A few minutes later, there was a knock, and Helen peeked in. "We're back," she said. There was a bit of a problem with Aidan. Jennifer collected herself and asked, "What do you mean?" "Nothing serious," Helen said. "He said he wasn't feeling well, so we came back early. Probably didn't agree with his breakfast." When Aidan entered the room, he indeed looked pale. Jennifer embraced him. "What's wrong, Aidan?" "I got sick," he said in a small voice. "Aunt tried to make me take some strange medicine." Jennifer froze. "What do you mean?" "On the way to the zoo, I said I was hungry, and Aunt gave me a treat. But it tasted strange. Then I got sleepy and..." Helen returned to the room. "He's just tired," she said casually. "Children sometimes have too much imagination, don't they? Come on, Aidan, lie down for a bit." Jennifer tried to maintain her composure. "Thank you, Helen. I'll take care of him." Helen hesitated for a moment but left the room. When the door closed, Jennifer encouraged Aidan to tell her more. "What did your aunt give you?" "Something like chocolate," Aidan said. "But there was something inside. After it melted in my mouth, I got really sleepy and fell asleep in the car. Then..." He frowned. "Aunt was taking lots of pictures of me while I was sleeping." Jennifer's resolve hardened. They needed to leave this house tonight. But she needed to avoid making Helen suspicious. Jennifer hugged her son, praying they could safely escape from this situation. Dinner was enveloped in an unusual tension. Jennifer maintained a calm exterior, nodding along to Richard's work stories while inwardly planning their escape. Across the table, Helen behaved more gracefully than ever, paying special attention to Aiden. "Would you like more dessert, Aiden?" Helen asked in a sweet voice. "I made it especially for you." "No, thank you," Aiden replied in a small voice, nestling closer to Jennifer. Helen's eyes flashed cold for a moment. "Really? It's so delicious. Just one little bite." "He's already full," Jennifer said, protectively embracing her son's shoulders. "And he seems a bit tired." Richard seemed to notice the tension. "Is there a problem?" He glanced between his wife and their guests. "Nothing at all, Richard," Helen answered quickly. "I'm just trying to be nice to Aiden. He is my nephew, after all, isn't he?" Jennifer took a deep breath. "Actually, we might need to head back early tomorrow. For an urgent work matter." "What?" Helen's voice was cold. "But you were supposed to stay until Sunday." "I know. I'm sorry. But I got a call from an important client." "Isn't Sunday morning soon enough?" Helen's tone contained obvious displeasure. "I had so many plans for Aiden." Richard intervened. "Helen, Jennifer has work too. Try to understand." "Yes," Helen reluctantly agreed, but her eyes harbored flames of anger. "Of course, I understand." After dinner, Richard retired to his study, and Jennifer and Aiden returned to the guest room. Jennifer quietly instructed Aiden to pack his clothes and reserved a late-night taxi on her smartphone. "Are we leaving tonight?" Aiden whispered. "Yes," Jennifer answered calmly. "It's a little adventure. But we need to be quiet. This is a secret mission." Aiden nodded. He was frightened enough by the events at his aunt's house not to question his mother. The clock showed 11 p.m. The house was silent. Richard and Helen had apparently retired to their bedroom. Jennifer packed the bare essentials in a bag and took Aiden's hand. They carried their shoes and tiptoed down the hallway. As they descended the stairs, Helen was waiting for them in the entrance hall. She stood with her arms crossed, wearing a nightgown. "Where are you going?" Helen's voice echoed coldly. Jennifer caught her breath for a moment but quickly regained her composure. "Helen, you startled me." Aiden wanted some fresh air. He's feeling a bit anxious. "At 11 o'clock at night. With bags?" Helen said sarcastically. Aiden stood behind Jennifer, almost hiding. Tension filled the room. "I'll be honest," Jennifer said quietly. "We're planning to leave." "Why?" Helen's expression hardened. "Is there something you don't like?" "You should know," Jennifer said. "The camera under the bed, the photos in your study, your notebook." For a moment, surprise crossed Helen's face, but she quickly regained her composure. "You went through my personal room." "I was concerned for Aiden's safety." "Safety?" Helen's voice rose. "You thought I would hurt him." "I'm his aunt." "You tried to drug him." Helen laughed. It was a cold, emotionless laugh. "It was just chocolate. Children have such vivid imaginations." "Don't lie," Jennifer's voice trembled. "I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to take Aiden away from me." Silence dominated the room. Helen slowly stepped forward, her face revealing all the emotions that had been hidden until now: jealousy, resentment, and anger. "You have everything, and you're still not satisfied," she said in a low voice. "Our parents' love, talent, a son, and even the inheritance. What was left for me? Fertility treatments and a cold marriage." "Helen." Shut up, Helen shouted. You don't understand anything. Always the perfect Jenny who got special treatment. Our parents only had eyes for you. No matter how hard I tried, no matter how good my grades were, it was never as important as Jenny's artistic talent. Tears began to flow from Helen's eyes. When they left most of the inheritance to you, I lost my last hope. Did they think I wouldn't care because I had Richard's money? It wasn't about the money. I wanted recognition. Jennifer felt her sister's pain. I never meant to. But that's how it was, Helen said. And now, you have everything they took from me. Especially a child. So, Aiden. He should have been mine, Helen said quietly but with terrifying conviction. It would be easy to prove you're an unfit mother. I've already gathered evidence of your routine neglect. Also evidence of your mental instability. Within a few weeks, the court will separate Aiden from you and grant custody to me, his closest relative. You're insane, Jennifer said in a trembling voice. Insane? Helen laughed. I'm simply trying to reclaim the life that should have been mine. Your life should have been mine, but our parents chose you. But this time, it's my turn to choose. She took another step toward Jennifer. I'll give you a choice. Leave quietly and never see Aiden again, or let me proceed with my plan. Either way, the result will be the same. Aiden began to cry, clutching Jennifer's clothes tightly. Mommy, I'm scared. At that moment, the front door opened, and Richard entered. He was holding car keys, clearly just returning from an outing. He paused for a moment at the tense atmosphere in the house. What's going on? He asked. Richard, Helen turned in surprise. Why are you? I just got back from finishing some work, he said. Helen, what are you doing? Nothing, she answered quickly. Jennifer was just trying to leave with the child in the middle of the night. I was trying to stop her. Richard looked at Jennifer. Is that true? Your wife has been monitoring me and Aiden, Jennifer said. She's trying to take my son away from me. That's absurd. Helen cried. Richard sighed deeply. He took his smartphone from his pocket and operated it. Helen, that's enough. What are you talking about? I know everything, he said quietly. Your medications, appointments with the psychiatrist, and about your plan. You investigated me. Helen's face paled. I've felt something was wrong with you for months, Richard explained. Secret phone calls, strange purchases, and suddenly inviting your sister and nephew, it all connected. He turned to Jennifer. I apologize to you. I was aware of my wife's issues but didn't realize how serious they were. She needs treatment. Traitor. Helen shouted at her husband. You were supposed to be on my side. I am on your side, Helen, Richard said gently. That's why I need to stop this behavior. You need help. I'm perfectly normal. Helen's voice was shaking. You've taken everything from me. It was supposed to be my turn. Richard approached Jennifer and offered his car keys. Use my car. You should go to a safe place tonight. Tomorrow, contact the police and a lawyer. Helen cried out desperately. I won't let you go. She grabbed a vase from the table and was about to throw it. Richard quickly restrained her and shouted to Jennifer. Go. Now. Jennifer picked up Aiden and ran toward the door. Behind them, Helen's screams and the sound of breaking objects echoed. Getting into the car and starting the engine, the headlights illuminated Helen's figure. She stood in the front yard, strangely quiet. Her eyes were vacant, her expression as lifeless as a doll's. Jennifer stepped on the accelerator and drove the car into the darkness of the night. 3 months later, in a new apartment on the opposite side of Boston, Jennifer was putting dinosaur stickers on the wall of Aiden's room. A few weeks had passed since the move, and their lives were gradually regaining stability. "Mom, is this good?" Aiden asked as he carefully placed a blue triceratops in a low position on the wall. "Perfect," Jennifer smiled. Her son was slowly beginning to recover from the memories of that terrifying weekend. Twice-weekly psychological counseling was proving effective. The sound of an incoming call came from the living room. Jennifer saw it was from Richard. They had been in regular contact since the incident. "What is it?" She answered the phone. "I'm calling about Helen." Richard's voice was tired but calm. "She's been admitted to a state psychiatric facility. The court issued an involuntary commitment order." Jennifer exhaled deeply. The police report and court hearings had been painful but necessary steps. "How is she?" "According to the doctors, she shows delusional disorder along with obsessive tendencies. Her inability to have children has apparently worsened her mental state." Richard paused for a moment. "I'm truly sorry about what happened to you both. I should have noticed sooner." "It's not your fault," Jennifer said. "I should have realized how much our childhood with our parents affected Helen." After hanging up, Jennifer stood by the window, looking at the city view. Recently, she had begun to recognize that their parents' unequal affection was partly to blame for the tragedy. They had given Jennifer special treatment and neglected Helen. She had discussed with her lawyer and decided to allocate part of her parents' inheritance for Helen's treatment. Her thoughts were interrupted by Aiden calling her for dinner. Sharing a meal with her child, she savored the quiet happiness of everyday life. Since escaping that night of terror, she had come to cherish each day. At the same time, in a room at the state psychiatric facility, Helen sat quietly in a chair by the window. On the surface, she appeared calm and responsive to treatment. The doctors noted significant progress. However, under her mattress, she secretly kept a small notebook. Inside were photos of Jennifer and Aiden pasted in, with sketches of a new plan. On the last page, in her small, neat handwriting, was a single line. "Someday, I will take back what's mine." Helen smiled quietly, gazing at the world of freedom spreading outside the window. Her plan might have failed, but her obsession had not ended. She had time. And this time, she intended to be more careful. Outside the window, the twilight sky began to darken, heralding the coming of night.